Well, hello everyone. About 6 months or so ago now, I guess, I purchased the Neo-Dyne Motorcycle Loader, the AUN 250, and I got the boltless AC012 kit, I believe it was. Then I kind of walked through, kind of setting it up, getting it, the bike loaded onto it, the strap situation, getting it loaded into the truck, all that. And the video received a fairly good response rate. A lot of people saw it. So I thought that it might make sense for us to do a 6-month follow-up. We've used the lift now a few times. We've got some real world experience with it. And talk a little bit about some things that we learned and some tricks maybe I come up with along the way. And then we'll talk a little bit about how you see out the back of your truck. I don't recall if I mentioned that in the first video, but we purchased a remote camera setup so that we can see the bike when we're driving down the road, and we can actually, if you have to back the truck up, you have another viewfinder, if you will, beside the two mirrors on the side, which helps a little bit if you're in a tight parking lot. So we used the bike on a cross-country trip in December. We stopped in Texas, we stopped in Louisiana for a day. We had a lot of rain. It was a miserable trip, that part of it. But then we stopped in Florida, went to our son's house in Orlando, and Marcia, my beautiful trophy wife, and I decided to take the bike down to Key West. We used to ride to Key West all the time from Marco Island when we lived in Florida. So we loved that ride down Route 1. Who doesn't love 7 Mile Bridge, all that good stuff. So we thought, let's take the bike down. So we took a week trip and left the truck in Orlando and took the bike down. Great trip. The clutch cable on the Harley went out in that trip, which was a nightmare, but that wasn't anything to do with the lift. That was more to do with the bike. So we had to get that taken care of. And as far as the lift goes, it worked flawlessly. We put the bike on and off 3 or 4 times on the trip, took the bike out riding. On the way back, we actually rode to White Sands, New Mexico from Las Cruces. Anybody who hasn't done that, it is like stepping into a different planet. It is a cool ride. 8 miles out and back. The last 3 miles are on unpaved roads, and it's just a white sand. That's why they call it white sands. It's a white sand everywhere, and you really feel like you're kind of in a different planet. It's the weirdest thing to explain. Getting back to the lift. The thing that we found to be a little bit challenging of any of it was getting the lift in and out of the truck. I'm 170 pounds, be 70 years old in another month. The days of me picking up, it weighs about 200. The way it's configured, it's probably about 255, 260 pounds. The ability for me to get that in and out of the truck is nil at this point by myself. You just can't do it. It's too heavy. You got these polyurethane pads on the bottom, which are great it gives us some traction in the truck with the bed liner. It gives it a little bit of a cushioning effect, but it doesn't slide very well on a bed liner. Bed liners, as you may know, are a pretty rough surface, and it takes more ass than I have to move that lift in and out of that truck easily. So what I kind of came up with was a fairly inexpensive contraption here that allows me to use a lift. I didn't have a shop crane at all, but I didn't need a heavy duty shop crane because, as I say, this thing isn't real heavy. So I bought it's made by Titan Attachments. They had it on sale for, I think it was $169 or $179. It was under $200. And what it does is it has plenty of capacity with the hydraulic lift to handle this thing easily. So what I had to do some configuration to it though, because I needed to get the arm moved out far enough so that it would get out closer to the middle of the lift, because obviously you got to keep it somewhat balanced. And I just had to drill another hole in here to move the lift further out. And the weight rating, if you do the math on it, it works out to about 100, the 6.5 inches I had to add to it. It decreases the rating from 400 kilograms to about 120, 130 kilograms, which works out to right at about 250 pounds. And that's exactly the weight of the lift. So I'm within the specs of the lift doing that. I feel good about that. I had this, but you can buy it at Harbor Freight for, I think it's $15 last time I saw it. It's just a tow hook for a 2-inch receiver. I had a previous pickup that we used to have to pull trees down with from time to time where we used to live. And I bought this to obviously rope off and pull down some mid-sized trees and stuff. So it works perfect for this configuration. So the fact that it was 2-inch, it fit right into the arm here. The receiver is basically a 2-inch receiver. And then I had to drill a hole to obviously run what could have used a pin, but I just ran the same bolt through that the chain was on. You remove the chain assembly and I bolted this on. And that allows me to use that as a kind of a hook. These 4 ratchet straps that you'll see are the same straps I used to strap the lift into the truck. So I didn't have to buy anything there, and they're rated for obviously, several thousand pounds, so that's not an issue. So find 4 points to connect it on so that it stays somewhat centered. I just run 2 through the frame in the back and 2 through this dolly assembly, which is held in by the straps and the motor, so it's not going anywhere. And then you can see it kind of floating here right now. I took the liberty of getting everything set up so I didn't have to waste your time. And that allows me to then remove the table that it sits. I use this, by the way, as another thing. This table, purchased it at Harbor Freight 4 or 5 years ago. And I purchased it because it's a 1,000-pound rated hydraulic table. You just jack it up with a foot pump there. But I used it for a water heater we had in our previous home that was on like a 30-inch high pedestal. And there was no way, I don't have anybody else to help me do this stuff. So I wasn't gonna be able to lift the water heater up myself and get the old one off. So I bought this table for, I think it was $249. And you could take it down, I could get the water heater onto this and then jack it up and slide it right on. I think, well, it worked perfect for that. It also works perfect for this because I set the lift on here. I can, whatever height you want, it doesn't matter. But that way I can wheel this around the garage so that if I'm working on something and I need, I don't know, a trailer in here, if I'm working on a truck, whatever, and I want to get this out of the way, it's on wheels. I can just move this thing as I've often done, move it around the garage, make room. So I highly recommend, if you're going to store this thing, have it on some kind of a movable platform, because at least a half a dozen times I've had to move that thing already. So it really is nice that it's on a movable platform. So now that it's jacked up a little bit, let's pull this out of the way. And then continue to move this out. And we'll take it over and I'll show you just how it slides into the bed of the truck. That should be good enough. So now you can wheel this over. You can kind of hold it a little bit. Of course, I'm only 170 pounds. And slide right in to the bed. And the wheels and the shock crane go underneath the truck. And you can take it almost all the way. So there is roughly centered and in about as far as I can go, because obviously the hydraulic pump is hitting the back of the tailgate. But if you kind of push on it a little bit when you let it down, you can kind of slowly let this down and it goes right into the truck. Now, I am only moving it, you can see, about 18 inches and it's all the way in. So easily doable. I'm not trying to shove a 6 foot or 5.5 foot long lift across all that bed line. I'm only moving it a little bit, and it's made my life a whole lot easier, because there will be times that you buy a pickup because you are not only hauling a bike, but you want to be able to haul other things. So as soon as we got back, we kind of come up with this contraption, move the lift out, and then you can use it as a regular truck, obviously, because that lift does take up a lot of room in the truck. And when we want to go somewhere, you saw how easy it is. I can have this lift in and out of this truck in roughly 5 minutes. So I thought it was a kind of a neat thing to show you. Works really great. I don't have $200 in all this because I already had the straps and I already had the tow hook. So it's I think it was like 180 bucks, something like that. And that solves my problem. It works really nice. It's easy. I'm not tearing up my bed liner by sliding something in and out of there all the time. I'm not tearing up the polyurethane feet on the lift, so it works really nice. So just wanted to kind of show you that, and then to take it off the same way, obviously. You slide it back a little bit, put the straps on, lift it up, take it off. And then, obviously, you would just slide the table back under there, let it down. Life is good. Another thing I wanted to kind of talk about is a little nuance that we found that I'm not sure whose fault it is. I don't know if it's mine or if it's the Neo-Dyne or what. When you've seen in some videos, and you may have seen it in my previous video, that when you have the drill on the, I'll call it a sleeve, but it's really the nut that connects the motor shaft to the drill socket. This sleeve does not appear to be machined exactly flat. We have had, you'll see it vibrate. You'll see it on other people's videos too, not just mine. That we have the drill in there, and you'll get this kind of thing when the drill's going. And it's not a big deal. You get a good arm workout a little bit, but it doesn't really hurt anything. It's kind of a nuisance. So I took the sleeve off, and I kind of was looking at it under a little bit of a scope, and it doesn't look like it's machined exactly flat on the inside. There's a little wobble to it when you turn this. I tried adjusting. There's two Allen screws here that you can adjust, and I've tried to keep adjusting it. There's a sleeve on the shaft that they fit in, and I kind of moved it. I got it a little bit better, but the actual sleeve itself looks like it's off a hair. So what I found is you have two ways you can do it to make it smoother. One is you can put a nut in, and I have one here, that in the socket, if you just stick the nut in there, that will keep it so that it doesn't go down as far. And it almost makes it like a shorter socket, if you will. We've all done that before. The top half of this thing seems to be better. So, or the other thing you can do is just kind of hold it. And I've kind of gotten used to it now after doing it, half a dozen times. You can kind of hold the drill up a little bit so that it's not all the way on, and it's a much smoother ride, if you will. It vibrates just a little bit, and that's fine. If you go all the way down, it seems to be a little bit worse. So that's just something you may, if you have one of these, or you see somebody doing it and their arms doing this thing, you'll know what I'm talking about. But like I say, if you just put a little bit of a gap, a spacer in there, just to get the socket up towards the end here a little bit, still leave yourself plenty for a bite, but move it somewhere like there, it works fine. So it's something we learned. It's just a nuisance thing. And Neo-Dyne built a beautiful piece of equipment. I love this thing. And I can't find anything I don't like about it. It's just weird why this was not machined perfectly. That's the only thing on here that doesn't seem to be. I don't know if they purchased these from somebody else, if they machined them, but if this thing was perfectly aligned and squared up, and it should be fine. It's just not. So whatever that's worth. Another thing I want to mention is, I mentioned the camera setup. So we purchased a camera before we took our big trip down to Florida. It's called Autobox. You may have, and I'm not sponsored at all by anybody, but this worked out really good, and it's got great reviews, and it's got a long battery life. This camera, here, show them the camera if you want. The camera has got a magnetic base. It's a wireless connection into about a 6-inch display that we sit in the console of the truck, so that when we're driving down the road, you charge this thing and it lasts, depending on how you have it configured. I have mine so it's on all the time because I want to constantly look at the bike, make sure everything's good back behind me, and also, pulling in and out of parking spots, you may want that. So I just leave mine on, and I can get about 3 days of battery life on this camera. And then all you do, it's a rechargeable battery. You just take it in the room, pop that, stick it into a USB-C port, charge it overnight, and by morning it's ready to go. And the nice part is this. You bring this out, and for those of you who may not have seen these, it's magnetic base. As I indicate, you just do that, and it's ready to go. This is adjustable. You can adjust this, the lens for the camera wherever you want it, up or down. And then in the truck, we have a nice color, high definition image of everything, the bike and everything behind it. And it's even got the red and yellow markers that are on the back to guide you when you're parking, if you want to use that. I really don't use those, but they're there if you want them. So really a nice setup, and we paid $129 for that, and that is worth every penny of it, because I feel confident when we're driving 75 mile an hour down a highway somewhere, I can see the bike still strapped in good, nothing's moving, all that. So another weird thing that we found is Harley's security system. I have a 2008 Softail Custom, and it's got the older security system, everything else. You want to show? Yeah, I think you've seen the bike before, but it's got the security system that flashes all the lights. So, not realizing that when you put it in the truck and it's moving, obviously the security system's going to go. So the first time we took off in the middle of the night from Nevada, and we're driving through the desert, and it's pitch black. All my lights are flashing on the bike, and it lasts about 15 minutes, and then it shuts off. And then it doesn't come on again until you actually, I guess, start the bike and ride it. After we took some rides and put it back on, then it reset the security system. For about 15 minutes, your lights are flashing on the bike, which is kind of strange, but it didn't hurt anything. It's just kind of, I'm looking at these lights like, what are they? And then I realized it's just a security system. They thought somebody was stealing the bike. So those are the things I kind of wanted to talk about today. Overall, I am extremely happy with this lift. It's expensive. A lot of people, complain about the price, but I believe when you get what you pay for. And I have never seen, in fact, I don't know if I've ever owned a piece of equipment that I thought was engineered this well. I absolutely love this thing. And like I said, we've had the bike on and off on a road trip at least a half a dozen times. And it gives us the freedom and flexibility to go anywhere we want. We have the comfort of the truck. We can take supplies and extra clothes or whatever you want in the truck. You're not jamming it all into a saddlebag. And then when you want to ride for the day, it's literally, if it takes me 6 or 7 minutes to get the bike off or on, that's too long. I mean, it literally is a simple thing. One of the comments that several people made, and I mentioned it on a previous one, was about fork loading when I strapped on the front. I made a response to somebody and said, look, it's only up the same amount that I am when I'm sitting on it, because I don't torque this down very much. I bought ratchet straps that have the closed loop on both the carabiner thing, I guess it is, with the closed, so they can't slip off. And I use a fabric strap that protects the chrome on the fork here. And then I only strap it down maybe 3 or 4 clicks on the thing. I don't care if the bike bounces and it gets a little loose, it cannot come off. So the bike stays rock solid. We've had no issues with any of that. Those 2 straps I have in the back swing arm, nothing's moving back there. So that bike is rock solid in the truck. And the fork isn't being loaded any more than it would be if you were sitting on it. So wanted to kind of clarify that, because a couple of people had made comments to me that they were concerned about the loading on the fork. That's not to be concerned. So now if you really cranked it down, yeah, you would have a different thing. I don't do that. That's why I bought those closed end loops on the ratchet straps, so that they don't come off. So they can bounce all they want, they ain't coming off. Anything else I want to cover? I can't think of it. I think we're good, but thanks a lot I just wanted to kind of clarify some things. I wanted to show you some tricks and give you a real life experience of 6 months of using this thing. But we look forward to using it for 10 more years. Absolutely love it. And hopefully this video has provided some good information for you, maybe give something to think about. And good luck with loading your motorcycles in the future. Thanks.